Hello, my name is Michael Garrick, and this is PoppinCulture. My guest today is a comedian and entertainment specialist, Cutti Armer.
Hi, thank you.
No problem. And I want to make sure, did I pronounce it right? Entertainment
Supervisor.
supervisor. I apologize.
No, it's totally fine.
Entertainment supervisor, guys.
Specialist sounds great too.
I'm sure you're great at what you do.
Thank you.
So my first question, a lot of people talk about bombing, but we're more into like people doing great. So when was the first time you killed as a comedian?
Oh wow. I've only been doing this since August. I feel like one of the most successful sets I've had was actually at a virtual show that I did for the Charlotte comedy scene, which I don't do a lot in Charlotte. I tend to stay more in South Carolina, but this burlesque group was putting on a virtual comedy event that aired in October, and it was burlesque, aerials, comedy, music, and I really enjoyed performing for that. It was actually shot at a bar,
Okay.
so it was kind of weird filming it and knowing that it would be aired later amidst like a bunch of other performances. But when I watched it back, I was really proud of it.
Nice. Have you ever felt that way about anything else you've done? Like, has anything else gave you that feeling?
Oh, absolutely. I work in the theme park world in entertainment, and that is something I've been doing for 10 years now. So the more I put into that, the better I feel like I get. So eventually I got to a point with our Halloween attraction that I felt really confident in what I was doing, and when I would have a good experience or a good scare with somebody, then it kind of gave me that same rush. It was, I definitely felt like I was entertaining people.
Nice. Okay, cool. And we'll jump into that. The topic you chose was horror. Any special reason?
Yes, actually, like I said, I've been in entertainment for a decade now, and I started in horror, working in the theme park setting. So I feel like that's kind of what gave me my jumping off point. And since then, I've branched out into, of course, comedy. I've even done burlesque, but horror kind of holds a safe place in my heart, or excuse me, a special place in my heart, because that's where I began with entertainment.
Nice. Okay. I don't have anything that deep. I just like being scared.
Hey, that's all right.
Cool. So I think we'll take it from the beginning. I did a little research about horror itself, and apparently the first like horror film was like shot in 1896. It was a silent film, and like out the gate they were like not the best names, but they were like clear cut. Like the first horror movie, the name was The House of the Devil.
Oh wow.
Which, if you think of 1896, you would think, man, they probably would like have a cookie cutter name, but I thought
That's a little heavy, yeah.
Yeah, like very heavy handed. Like it's no surprise in this movie apparently. I know you say you did a little research. What would you like to say about horror or the things you like about it?
I think that, my gosh, I don't even know where to start. I think initially I really enjoy it because recently I've been comparing horror and comedy a lot to each other, and I don't really know that you can fully appreciate one without the other. I don't know that you can appreciate a really great laugh without ever having been truly scared, and vice versa. So I think that it's important to have those experiences. I kind of got into this because I really enjoy getting reactions out of people, and I never really thought that I would enjoy hearing people scream as much as I have in the world that I've lived in. And eventually in that world, I started doing talent managing, which is, I was scaring for such a long time. Eventually, I got to the point where they asked me to start training other incoming actors. And it's it's so much more than just teaching somebody how to be scary. You're teaching them how to act, how to improv, how to entertain. Something that we always say is if you can't scare them, it's okay to make them laugh, even in that setting. So what I do and what we do, because I'm not the only talent manager, is we really emphasize how to give somebody that full experience. And I would never have gotten to that level and felt so comfortable doing that if it weren't for all of the opportunities that I've gotten at the theme park that I work at. At one point, I was doing individualized performances that you are kind of like a separate attraction for guests. And I think that was kind of a tipping point for me, because in that moment, typically in that setting, you're in a themed area, and maybe you're like a vampire or a ghost or a pirate, and everybody in that area is similar. Well, in these individualized performances, it was really just me and maybe one other actor, but for the most part, it was just me. And a lot of times I would be called on to do improv. There were scripts or ideas that we had to stay within, but for the most part, it was really just improvising and making sure that our guests had that really, really terrifying experience, or that they were, again, at least entertained. And I've really enjoyed teaching other people how to do that. So again, it's getting that reaction, and just like with comedy, you want a reaction out of them as well. You want them to laugh. And I enjoy hearing people scream just as much as I enjoy hearing them laugh at this point.
Nice. Do you think some people just have it, or is it something you really have to train people, like to scare someone?
Ooh. If I'm being completely honest, and I am, I think that it's not something, I think that you can have it and not even know that you have it, or you have it and it needs to be cultivated. You need somebody to help you pull it out of you. But I wouldn't say no, that anybody could just do it.
Okay.
I think it kind of takes a special person.
Nice. So I'm a big fan of haunted houses. Like I at least try to go at least 3 every year. This previous year I wasn't able to go because of COVID, of course. But I would say the only thing that takes me out of it is, one, if I know the person.
Yeah.
Of course, like, oh yeah, that's James.
That's a challenge for us as an actor too.
And second,
you forget that you know us.
Sure. And second is and it doesn't take away from it too much, but when somebody, like, if I'm in a group of 6 of us and one of the actors goes like, hey, what's her name? And it's like, hey, I want to be scared too, man. Why would, hey, April. Okay, her name's April. April, he's coming.
Can't stand that. Yeah. I totally understand how that would distract you.
Yeah, it's like, I paid the same money they did. Like, I would.
Why am I working right now? I totally get that.
I don't, maybe in your line of work it doesn't matter, but in your opinion, what is too much blood?
Oh man. I would say it's probably, in my opinion, I think it's really hard to get too much. It really depends on the effect that you're going for. When you say that, the first thing that comes to my mind is a certain scene in the movie Carrie where she's covered in it.
Yeah.
And
which one?
Oh, I'm thinking the original.
Okay.
But I don't know. I think if it's so much that you're so distracted from everything else that's going on in that scene or in that experience that you're having, then maybe it's too much. But like I said, again, it really depends on what that moment is supposed to look like. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you for answering those questions. In your opinion, well, I guess as someone that works in that field, I've always had that when I've gone to haunted houses where it's been like, okay, this is great. But have you, as a worker, has you ever like put in input like, hey guys, maybe this is just too long? Because I've been to haunted houses that were like, it felt like I was there for almost an hour.
Yes, I have been called upon to give insight in situations like that. And that's when you have to kind of regroup with your cast or with other managers and talk about what you want to see and why you're not seeing that the way things are happening right now. And again, I kind of want to also steer into the world of comedy just for the sake of the umbrella of entertainment that those are both under. I'm used to analyzing a lot of those performances, so it's kind of like I said, you step back and you go, what am I not seeing that I want to see, and what do I want to see more of that I'm already seeing?
Nice. Okay, and one last question, because we will sidestep into comedy, I promise.
No, you're totally fine.
How do you feel about people touching people? Are you a fan of that, or you're like, no, we should never allow that?
The place that I work at, we are absolutely not allowed to do that. And maybe it's just because I've been doing that for so long. I don't think that it is necessary. I think you can have a really terrifying experience without somebody touching you. And one thing that I like to say as a talent manager to all of my cast is, we definitely want to terrify them. We want to scare them. I personally don't want to send somebody to therapy, so let's not traumatize them. Let's just scare them. And I think that's a fine line sometimes.
Nice. And where you work, that place where you work, you guys use fog very well.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we have I'm going to go ahead and shout out, we have a really amazing tech team, and there are people that go out specifically through the night, and that is what they do. They make sure that those particular fog machines have the effect that they need to have. So we have a great team for that.
Man, that's a nice job. Like, wow, that's a good job. Like
yeah, you go home smelling a very specific way. And it's funny because if I ever smell fog machines anywhere else that I go, which is not a lot, it always brings me back to my job.
Nice. So when it comes to the horror comedy, what would you like to discuss?
Well, there's something that I definitely wanted to mention in relation to how both of those affect pop culture and culture in general. I'd say that this is a really great time. There aren't a lot of great things happening in 2020, but I will say that I am really for a lot of Black stories and Black experiences that I don't typically see as a horror buff finally coming to light. I think that representation and diversity is so important, and I don't think that without other people's experiences, we're really getting everything we can out of any genre. But I'll just use horror in this instance. I've been watching a show on HBO Max, and it's called Lovecraft Country.
Yeah.
And it is an incredible story, and it is, I believe it is Jordan Peele's production, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not sure. But it is a good show.
Yes, and it has an educated, diverse cast, and they're using literary figures in the story. It's incredible, and I think that that is something that we've been missing, and we can't have. What am I trying to say? I'm a white woman. I have no idea what it's like to be a person of color and what that experience is like and how other people are treated. But I want to be a good ally, and that's why I want to see those stories. And I think that those experiences are extremely important, and maybe it's uncomfortable to talk about sometimes, but until we acknowledge it, we're never going to be better as people. So seeing representation and diversity in entertainment, whether it's horror or comedy, I think is incredibly important.
I agree. And I'm so glad that you feel that way. I feel the same exact way. Because when you think about horror comedy, they mostly are like Black or like different ethics backgrounds. When it comes to those, like the first, like Tales from the Hood the first one was very scary, and then the second one they just turned into mostly a comedy. And then when you think of Leprechaun, Leprechaun was mostly a comedy, and then it had like mostly Black characters in it. Actually, had Jennifer Aniston too. I learned that from Chris Cross.
Yes, with her old nose.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Oh, it's that. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to do a double take when I first saw that movie, but yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah, let's focus. Okay, my bad.
Pre-Rachel.
Yeah, when somebody says it out loud, it's like, yeah, man, money doesn't hurt, I guess. So do you have a favorite horror comedy?
Horror comedy. You mean like when the genres have been put together?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I do. I'm actually a fan of the scary movies.
Me too.
I don't like everything about them. I don't think I've seen a single one where I haven't rolled my eyes at least a few times, like, okay, I could have done without that. But I think the idea of kind of taking those super serious, scary movies and adding some levity to it is a really novel concept. So I watch those movies kind of out of respect for that craft. But yeah, I think sometimes they get a little corny, but I can definitely watch them.
Yeah, I really like the first scary. I like the first two scary movies. The rest of them, I kind of just couldn't get into it. But my favorite horror comedy, which is very 80s or like early 90s, is a movie called Once Bitten. It's Jim Carrey's first leading role.
Okay.
Like you can find it at like the Dollar General, or I think it's on Amazon now, I believe. But it's a very it's cool to see young like Jim Carrey. So
Definitely,
it's a funny movie.
I think I've heard that title, but I don't think I've seen that movie.
Oh yeah, if you ever get a chance, it's funny, and just to hear him like try to like work in that American accent and not like try to work that Canadian accent and American accent is just hilarious because each scene is different. So to bounce back to horror just for a second, in your line of work, you guys focus mostly on jump scares?
No.
Okay.
No, we definitely want a well-rounded actor from everyone that we can. So we look at everybody individually in our, like, say, you have a cast of 20 people. You look at all of them as their talent manager and you study what they're good at, what you've seen them do well at. So you want to encourage everybody to try a little bit of everything, including coming up with character development and lines that are specific to their character. But you want them to try all of that.
Okay.
But sometimes you walk through the attraction during the night and you see, okay, so-and-so is not really nailing the pop scare. So what can I help them with? So, yeah, there's a lot of different things. And we also want everyone to all the guests to have a very surprising experience, if that makes sense. So I think if everybody were doing the same kind of scare all night, it might kind of lose its luster.
Nice. And one more question, if you don't mind me asking.
No,
in your
no.
line of work, what do you find more scary? And personally also, music or silence?
Ooh. That is really, I actually have that in my notes.
Okay, I'm sorry. We
No,
can wait on that.
No, you're totally fine. I think they work really well together, and I can elaborate on that later.
Okay.
In my mind, when I'm thinking of a movie, yeah, I think they work really well together, especially when it's very abrupt, when you go from one to the other.
Yeah, true. When there's a hard cut, you're right. But yeah, the other notes. I'm sorry for rambling.
No, you're totally fine. This is your show. I'm just here with my notebook, and I've had way too much caffeine today.
Oh, that's totally fine.
I definitely, like I said, I've been comparing horror and comedy since I've been doing this. And some of the things that I've found that are very similar, not only from working as an actor myself, but also as a talent manager, and now trying to start from the ground up at being a comedian. Some things that I think are really important to both of those things are facial expressions. When I'm on stage doing stand-up and I'm telling a story or I'm talking about a person, like a different person that's not me, I really want to get the facial expressions and the movements very, I want that to be very effective. I want those to be like in my tool bag. And I want to be a comedian that's known for like, oh, when she tells a story or when she's trying to get you to experience a joke with her, she's moving, she's got the right facial expressions, her voice is like the right volume, she can do accents, that kind of thing. And I've tried to do that in horror acting and writing as well. So improv and that kind of thing I think is really important.
Nice, man. I very much. It's good to hear that, man. I'm glad you put that much passion in it. I am basically just set up in punchlines, but it's good to know that you're going the extra mile. That's good. That'll
I
definitely
appreciate
work out for you in the future.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed it in the few months that I've been doing it, and I don't intend on stopping anytime soon.
No, you shouldn't, because you're very good. Very,
Thank
very
you
good.
so much.
No problem. So when it comes to horror, well, I guess it works the same way with comedy. Do you think it's more the punchline, or just the horror of the movie is more important, or do you care more about the story?
My answers are such cop-outs because, again, I don't know that you can really have one without the other. One thing I keep hearing from a lot of comedians is comedy is broken down into this structure of premise, setup, punch. And I guess with horror, a lot of it is target, scare, and then you reset. So the premise of a joke is... that's something that I'm still kind of learning. It seems like sometimes I just go right into the setup and then the punch. So, what is the premise exactly?
I would always say the premise is the first two sentences, or the beginning of the story, no matter if it's like long or short. But yeah, just I guess whatever leads into the setup to the punchline.
Oh, okay.
Like,
cool. I'm still learning all that stuff.
Even if it's just one sentence or two sentences, just something that'd be like, all right, this is why I was at the setup, and let me set it up, and then let me give you the punchline.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That is really funny because when you're, at like a haunted attraction and you're looking at, like, you're literally picking out who am I going to scare next. It almost feels like that premise. It's like that first two sentences. It's like, who is it? Okay, it's you. And then the setup is like you kind of preparing to do the scare, and then the scare is the punchline. And then in comedy, you don't really have to reset, but in a scare, you want to reset after you've delivered a really good scare. They screamed, they may have peed themselves, and then you go reset. So I don't know that I've ever made anybody pee in comedy. That's definitely a goal of mine. I have made somebody pee themselves scaring multiple times. So
nice,
I guess I could check that off my entertainment bucket list. It's a really weird thing to have on your list, though.
Yeah, but in your line of work, I'm sure that's an honor.
Oh, absolutely. It's, you don't want to seem too proud of it when it's happening, but you walk away going, I did that. I made that happen.
True. Yeah, I guess you do have to stay in character.
Absolutely.
How much makeup have you worn one night for a character?
Oh my goodness. It is, it's quite a process. Sometimes it feels like you're on a movie set. So you get, for me personally, I don't ever really wear heavy makeup.
Okay.
And it's not really a great reason. It's just my skin's really sensitive, so I have to be careful. But I've layered it on before, and I used to at one point. I was a vampire for a long period of time, so I had makeup, and then on top of that, I had to have artificial blood all over me. So I would have to unstick my costume from me at the end of the night.
Nice. Okay. Do a lot of people just wear masks as cop-outs, or you guys make them wear makeup?
We go all out.
Okay.
We have masks, but the masks are as high quality as we can do in the park. We have prosthetics which are glued to the face, so we can make it look like your eye was removed, or you have like your jaws falling off. Or we could also just do airbrush, like special effects with actual airbrush, and we have some incredible makeup artists who can take your face as is, and just with airbrush alone make it look like you've been dead for 10 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
Who are the easiest people to scare?
That's a really great question. My favorite people to scare personally, and what I try and teach, like in my own experience, and also what I like to teach people, is to go for anyone who it's a very specific moment. You go for somebody who has seen you, and maybe you've made eye contact, and they're like, okay, that's a monster. And then they kind of keep walking because you haven't done anything yet, and they assume that you're not going to, or they assume that they're safe from you, and you have about 0.5 seconds to change that entire interaction. And you turn around, or you make a sudden movement or a sound, and it immediately takes them out of that, oh, okay, they didn't notice me, to, oh my gosh, they are like in my face right now, or, you know, whatever. So I guess to say my favorite people to scare are the ones that think that I don't see them at all, or the ones that think that I didn't notice them.
Okay. Nice. Okay. Anything else from your notes you'd like to share?
I'm such a nerd.
Okay.
Goodness. Not that I can think of.
Okay. So what was your first interaction with horror? Was it books, audio, movies?
It was actually my dad.
Okay.
He got my sisters and I into just the holiday Halloween when we were really little, and it was something that we always looked forward to. Halloween is my favorite holiday, and it's his as well. And from that, we started watching movies with him, or like creepy shows as we got older gradually. But yeah, he definitely got us into dressing up and carving pumpkins and decorating the house. So, you know, starting in like September. So, and I still do that now as an adult. I live on my own. But I still decorate the house in September. I usually carve a pumpkin. So that's when spooky season begins for me. So yeah, my dad is the one that kind of introduced me to that world.
Okay. I grew up Jehovah's Witness, so like all holidays are new to me.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And my girlfriend.
Are you living it up?
Oh man, it's more learning because you gotta like break all that like, oh, this is paganism. You gotta get all that out your head.
I can only imagine.
Oh yeah, it's horrible. And my girlfriend, she's big into like decorating stuff. So like whenever a holiday comes by, I just come home, and as you can see, the Christmas stuff behind you is just like, oh yeah. So the same thing was for
That's beautiful. She did a great job.
Oh yeah. Thank God she didn't get a real tree. And no, it's fake. Because if it was real, it would have went back. And yeah, she did the same thing for Halloween. We came and she was carving pumpkins, and I was just like, oh, who bought all this? And but it's sudden. Halloween's definitely become my favorite of all, just because it's one moment where like it's a time of year where like everybody's like just free. Like
yes,
you know.
I think we can all be as weird as we want to be throughout the year, but we have a pass.
Yes.
I've come to not let that stop me
Exactly.
personally, but I do think that a lot of people view it that way. It's like, I've heard that phrase, you're letting your freak flag fly. They do that around Halloween.
Oh yeah.
And then they bottle it back up on November 1st, and they're like, that wasn't me. I didn't walk around with a severed head prop for 8 hours last night on Halloween.
Or like
and they go back to
naked.
their regular life. What?
Or half naked. Like
Also that is an excellent excuse to be like, it's Halloween, my
just
my
be
boobs
shivering.
should be out. Yeah.
Just shivering like hell. Yeah. Like it's like 40 degrees out here, but okay. When it comes to genres of horror, what besides comedy, what are a few of your other favorite genres when it comes to horror?
I mean, other than horror, or just like within
horror?
Oh, so the things that tend to scare me the most are I have a really weird thing with sharks. I think that's a very specific fear. I don't know what it is. Like, honestly, if their mouths are closed, it doesn't really bother me, but as soon as they open their mouths, I freak out. But that's I think that's a very niche thing to be afraid of, even though there are a lot of like scary shark movies. But when I'm thinking of horror, like really I don't know, classic horror, anything involving like ghosts or paranormal kind of activity, that is what scares me. I like slasher movies. I don't really like alien movies. Those are fine, but like if I want to be scared, I want to be really, really scared. So And I was originally baptized Roman Catholic, and I
Okay.
grew up Roman Catholic for a long time.
Okay.
So any of the demonic, like, possession stuff also really freaks me out, which is why my favorite horror movie is The Nun.
Nice. And we'll be reviewing that in a little bit.
No problem. Can't wait.
Thank you so much for reviewing it with me. When it comes to those type of movies, do you think the ghost itself is what's scary, or do you think the people that are trying to discover the ghost, do you feel like they are putting it on themselves?
I would say in those situations, the ghost is definitely doing a lot of the heavy lifting. Some of my favorite moments in those movies are not, a lot of times you don't even really see the ghost or the demon or whatever it is. It's those little incidences where you, out of the corner of your eye, you see like a door open, or you see a shadow walk by, and maybe you do kind of see the villain or the monster or the ghost or whatever, but it's not full on exposure yet. So those lead up moments are really what scare me. And of course, then when you get to those climactic moments with the demon or the ghost, they're very in your face, and that's a different kind of scare. But I like the insidious little moments too.
Yeah, those kind of movies were the first time I realized flickering lights could be scary.
Yeah.
Like at first it was just like, man, my brother gotta stop playing with those lights. But like, as you see it put in a different art form, you're like, okay, this is terrifying. This can be terrifying. In a sense, do you kind of believe in those things in real life, or do you stick with it just being on like film and movies? I mean, films and audio. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I didn't believe it for a long time. I lived in an apartment by myself for a while, and it was an older apartment. And little things would happen, and I just told myself, it's an old building, whatever, that's going to happen. And then finally, there were things that happened there that I really couldn't rationalize anymore. At one point, I got scratched, and I took a picture of the scratches and all that, and I would see things. I feel crazy just saying this right now.
No, it's totally fine. No, tell us the apartment so people can know.
It's just a little like apartment in Rock Hill. It's not even like a complex. It's just a building that's owned by kind of a creepy woman who has a voice like Donald Duck. Unrelated.
Hilarious.
Yes. I think that's why I stayed. It was just really loved hearing her talk. But after a while I was just like, okay, I don't think that I'm imagining this anymore. And I definitely wasn't imagining the scratches. So it took a while, and I think when people, who know me know that I'm really into that kind of spooky stuff, they would think that my answer would be like a resounding yes, absolutely. But it took a while for me to really believe it, and I had to have some experiences that I just couldn't explain.
Yeah, I don't believe it yet, and I'm just so biased. I'm just like extremely biased, but like I'm slowly starting to believe it. The reason why I didn't believe it because like my mom would be like, "Wouldn't slaves just come back and kill white people?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I guess." But wow, I saying it out
No,
loud. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, that is all right.
Hey,
but yeah,
I appreciate your candidness.
Yeah, that was yes. But hearing the stories and hearing so many stories, I'm slowly leaning towards like I feel like you do have to look for it, or just like you didn't, you were staying in a place and it came to find you apparently. But those are a few things where if I ever experienced it, it'd be terrifying to say the least. Have you used any of that like in your amusement parks?
Oh yeah.
I mean, not stretching, of course, but like that kind of like fear, I guess.
Definitely.
Okay.
One of the things that I like to do, and I like to tell my cast, use what scares you.
Okay.
And I think that might sound really general, but if you really think about it, and you think about each individual person, like I said, on that 20-person cast, you're going to get a lot of different answers and a lot of different movements from those characters that they're developing. So, and I think that there's a certain confidence that comes with that. So for me, having those experiences in that apartment, I remember actually channeling them at my job.
Okay.
And like it would be my facial expressions, it would be the way that I was moving, or even the kind of the tone of voice I was using. So it's all, I like to draw from a lot of different experiences I have, whether it's horror or even comedy. I think that I can make people laugh with some of the stupid things that have happened to me, and I can scare people with some of the scary things that have happened to me.
Nice. It's good that you can, pick up from stuff that's happened to you and use it. Now I know that helps out a lot. Dumb question. Can I ask one dumb question?
No,
What's
fine.
more scary, Ah or Boo?
I don't think that Boo is ever, and I cannot say this enough, I don't think that Boo is ever scary.
Okay.
Av is not inherently scary. I think it might depend on the voice that's coming, that it's that's saying it. But Boo to me is just silly and goofy, and it belongs on a corny Halloween sweater with like a bunch of candy corns and pumpkins around it, and maybe a ghost. That's when you can use Boo.
Okay. Cool. That makes sense.
I have strong feelings about that, which I didn't even know until you asked, but
Okay.
I just felt this flash of rage at the thought of somebody using the word boo.
All right, for all you actors that want to get cast, leave Boo alone. Like,
Yeah, don't touch it. It's not going to help you.
Yeah. The way not to get this job is by saying Boo. The lean just a little bit more back into the haunted house and amusement parks. Which one do you think scares people more, the amusement park or the haunted house? Like, which one do you think, like, could structurally, like, of course I know the haunted house has more free will because the amusement park has like a total chain of command, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
But which one do you think can scare people the most?
I think that I don't know that there is really there. It's so apples and oranges that it's hard to say. I definitely feel like as someone in that theme park world, we've had some really effective, terrifying moments, and I think we have challenges in the sense that we are not allowed to just take any old movie idea and make a maze or an attraction out of it. We have to,
True.
There's some originality that really has to exist. So, and I'm not trying to be biased, but I guess from that lens, it feels like we have a more of a challenge because we need to put on a truly terrifying event that is unique to our world. And I think at a haunted house that is just that one location, not exactly a corporate entity, I think they could make any attraction they want without having to, they could use The Exorcist or they could use Rosemary's Baby, just to throw out some old school names. But it's really hard to answer that specifically because they're just so different. True.
I was thinking more of the budget. You guys probably have a great budget when a haunted house somewhere may just,
You would think.
Wow.
And not that we don't, but I was surprised to find that some independent haunted houses do have the squirrel
Nice.
to throw down. So I'm in no way qualified to speak on my attractions budget, and I will leave that alone. But I will say that, like I said, I was surprised to find that Billy Bob's Backyard Halloween Haunt has some cash.
Nice. Well, I guess that's why they keep going up every year too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you coming on to the podcast and discussing horror with me. Is there anything you'd like to say to your fans?
Hi. If you're my fan, I'd sure love to know about it because I don't know of any fans. So thanks.
Where can they follow you?
Oh, yes. I am on Instagram as Hot Grandma. It is Hot Grandma _ and I actually had to kind of fight for that name because I am not the only hot grandma on Instagram. And if you look under that name, you will find some older ladies who are just as hot. And that's all I'm going to say about that. So just be careful who you follow and what you're looking for.
Okay. All right, guys. Like I said, thank you so much for being on the podcast, and you guys have an amazing day.